These members are being lobbied very heavily by the airlines right now. Mr. Oberstar saying if they don't do something soon, the entire industry could go under.
If the U.S. airlines go down, there are no other airlines. No one else will step in to provide that service. If it's gone, we lose it, maybe forever. That is the dimension of the problem.
Now, details on the dollar figures are still being worked out, still being discussed. I spoke with aides to the chairman of the same committee, the Republican, Mr. Don Young, and they say they, too, want to help the airline industry. They're not exactly sure how much money we're talking about, but on all sides, Joey, the hope is that the House might be able to get something done by the end of this week. Joey?
Okay, you know, I've been listening earlier in the day. We heard here on CNN Leo Mullen of Delta Airlines talking about his concerns and trying to balance it out. I suspect that the airline industry needs to follow a very fine line. Mr. Mullen was talking about, hey, part of the issue here is that airlines have such large fixed costs, and that is one of their immediate concerns about the money.
Well, yes, and they were in bad shape, Joey, before anything happened last Tuesday. We've been told by industry associations that they were already in the red to the tune of some $6 billion. So now asking for $5 billion seems to make sense, because not only were they already in the red, but now obviously things have gotten much worse for these airlines. I should tell you, though, there is some note of caution coming, Joey, from both some members of the House. I just spoke with Lloyd Doggett, who's a member of the House, a Democrat from Texas, who tells me he was one of the people the other night who expressed some caution about this. He says he's getting a lot of phone calls now from the airline industry. His concern, though, and some others concerned on the Senate side as well, is that we shouldn't rush into this, that Congress needs to make sure that they're not giving the airline industry help at the expense of other industries. There are going to be a lot of needs out there, a lot of members are saying, and they want to make sure that this is the right way to do it and not rush into things. Joey?
On Capitol Hill, CNN's Kate Snow. Bill?
Joey, thank you. Back to the investigation now. There are 4 people said to be material witnesses under arrest right now. That, according to the FBI and other law enforcement officials. To Washington and CNN's Eileen O'Connor, where there is more news about at least one of these 4. Eileen, good evening to you.
Good evening, Bill. Well, sources say that there are also a lot more of those material witness arrest warrants out there. And more FBI, ATF, INS, and customs agents are working this case, and in conjunction with local law enforcement, they are finding links between these hijackings and past attacks against the United States, its embassies, or military installations linked to Osama bin Laden. In custody is Zacarias Moussaoui, Habib Zacarias Moussaoui, who came into the United States in February on a student visa for flight school. He was picked up by the INS on August 17th on a visa violation. He was still in custody in Minneapolis when the attacks on the Pentagon and the World Trade Center happened, and he's now been transferred to New York for questioning, where sources say he is not cooperating. He was studying, according to sources, at a flight school in Oklahoma. Another person linked to Osama bin Laden studied at that same school. Now, we saw in New York in an earlier trial testimony by government-protected witnesses that were in the trial of bin Laden for those bombings of the U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya. That testimony indicated that Ihab Ali had trained as a pilot at the request of bin Laden. Ali, currently in custody, in federal custody, held on charges relating to that case, took flying lessons in Norman, Oklahoma as well. So there's a critical link. Sources say that they are looking at that link very closely. They've been searching buildings where others associated, but never brought to trial for those embassy attacks lived. Now, the strategy of training pilots to execute terrorist acts was uncovered during that embassy bombing trial, and that strategy appears to have been repeated in preparation for the attack on the Pentagon and the World Trade Center.
Hani Hanjour, one of the dead Pentagon hijackers, studied here in May at Freeway Airport in Bowie, Maryland, 25 miles from Washington, D.C. and the White House.
To take a look inside just to get the general look and feel of this type of trainer.
Hanjour wanted to rent a Cessna 172, says owner Marcel Bernard, but he needed to prove he was good enough and went up 3 times with 2 instructors.
On the last flight, they made it clear to him that they felt that his overall proficiency was so poor that they were going to insist that he do a little more flying with us and get some additional training before they would allow him to rent our aircraft.
Hanjour didn't come back, and while landing a Cessna is far different from landing a 757, Bernard says keeping it in the air isn't.
We believe that even though he didn't necessarily have experience in jets, that once the airplane was airborne, that he could have easily pointed it in any direction he wanted to, and crash it into a building or whatever would be a real feasibility, real possibility.
A real possibility that turned into a tragic reality. Bill?
Yeah. Eileen O'Connor, fascinating information. Eileen, thank you. Back here in New York City, many people thought this could be a day that returned to a sense of normalcy, however your definition of normal may be. CNN's Richard Roth talking with a lot of people flooding back into Manhattan for work today. Richard's near the Brooklyn Bridge with us now. Richard, hello.
Well, not exactly the bridge, but in the canyons of Wall Street, the venerable canyons, a place where business can tend to be a little ruthless. There are a lot of emotions here. From where I'm standing, you really can't see what would have been the World Trade Center anyway, due to these tall buildings, but they were not forgotten by many of the Wall Street pros here. Fear is always a big emotion here on Wall Street, but there was an extra component today. Everyone was very jittery, but there was more than just regarding money. They were concerned about what had happened, and many thought the stock exchange and other buildings could be a possible target. There was nervousness, people were uncomfortable, there was a lot of anxiety. There were scenes on the streets of Wall Street never really witnessed before by veterans here, soldiers and police on every street. Streets empty of trucks and cars, and everybody wearing a mask to ward off the effects of the smoke from the tower's rubble. A few blocks away, with American flags flying everywhere here, Wall Streeters did the best they could to cope with the trauma of the first day of trading.
As soon as I got into my building, made sure I checked the fire escapes and the fire exits to make sure that I knew the way out.
First day back, I think it's pretty nerve-wracking. A lot of people I see walking around having their face just like me covered. I think a little anxious, though.
Coming in and watching National Guard troops on the street feels like you're watching something out of another newsreel from another country.
One man said he was not going to look up through the side streets at where the towers would have been. Another said he didn't really want to be here, but felt there would be unity in showing up. And another, after the close of trading with the Dow Jones down over more than 600 points, bitterly said, I'm not disappointed. What's to be disappointed about? There are a lot of other important things to worry about. Bill?
Richard, thank you. A lot of tears and a lot of emotion this morning and throughout the day on Wall Street. Richard Roth on Wall Street with us tonight. We talked about the word normal. Let's bring in CNN's Jeff Greenfield for a closer look at what we mean when we talk about this word. Jeff, good evening to you here. New Yorkers thought this was the day to get back to business, get back to work day. That seemed to be the theme that was taking root over the weekend and into the morning. What do you think of when we try and define this word normal in a case like this?
I think that in the next couple of days we're going to get back to normal, and it will be absolutely not normal in the way we thought about it up until last Tuesday, and never will be again. We're starting baseball again tonight. That's fine. But people are going to be waiting online, I think, for long periods of time to be searched. And to be blunt, I think a lot of people who are sitting in those stadiums with thousands of people are going to wonder, could this be a target? The television shows are getting back to normal, but who thinks that we're ever going to have the kind of mocking political commentary and kind of mocking of our leaders that we've had over the last 20 years? How do you do that kind of humor in this context? People went back to Wall Street today, but not only was it different in terms of what happened in the market, but as we just heard, the whole mood is different. Whoever thought that a stockbroker or a trader was going to have to go down and pass a series of checkpoints? Normal as we...
With the National Guard there on the streets.
With the National Guard on the street, with sky marshals on airplanes. They're flying today, but is anybody in an airplane in the same emotional state that they would have been in 6 days ago when their biggest concern was how much am I going to be delayed? Yeah. The world's changed so much that you have to kind of go back and start looking at how people managed to have something of a normal life in other times. In World War II, people laughed, people listened to radio comedians, people went to the movies, and that was at a time when what they were worried about with their sons and fathers and brothers overseas, not about their own personal safety.
In the 4 days I've been here in New York, it strikes me so many times throughout the course of our day as we run around in different parts of Manhattan. I wonder truly across the country if it's really settled in just yet, if people really understand the magnitude of what we see here on the streets. And I've made the comment that television can only show so much, but you can't see it truly unless you come to this city and walk through the World Trade Center area and talk to the people and feel their emotion that they're taking on
I'm
here.
sure that's true, but I do believe, having talked to people all over the country, that the sense of unsettledness, the sense of worry, the sense of are we going to be next? We're going to be talking about that tonight about 11 o'clock with former Senator Gary Hart, who co-chaired a National Security Commission. And he talks about the fact that you know, cities like, he mentioned Seattle, he mentioned Denver. Why assume that if you're not living in New York, you're safe? And that's the great unsettledness that our leaders and the people as a whole have to come to grips with. We have to find a way to go about our lives, to love, to work, to play, and at the same time we're under a shadow that we never thought we'd be under.
You mentioned baseball. It will be a welcome distraction, I think, for a lot of people tonight.
Oh,
we shall see how the evening goes.
I think so, you know.
Jeff, thanks. We'll talk later, okay?
You bet.
Back to Joey now in Atlanta. Joey.
Speaking of baseball, take a look back here. Batting practice underway after a week off. Major League Baseball is back, and you see it there, Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia. The Braves are playing the Phillies this evening. Josie Karp is standing by in Philadelphia now. Josie, what are you seeing?
Joey, in total, 6 games will be played for Major League Baseball tonight. One is here at Veterans Stadium. About 20 to 30,000 fans are expected here, and those fans, of course, are going to be subjected to much tighter security than normal. And one of the most obvious signs of that increased security has to be the increase in uniformed police officers, both inside and also outside the stadium. Outside the stadium, the number of uniformed police officers is expected to be triple what it normally is. Also, fans aren't allowed to bring in large coolers and bags. The bags that they are allowed to bring in are subjected to search. In addition, parking has been restricted within 100 feet of all stadiums. These are all of the restrictions that are put in place, Joey, and it's against this backdrop that the Phillies and the Braves are doing what so many Americans did today, and that's pretty much go back to work. Back to you.
All right, Josie Karp at Veterans Stadium. American spirit back in play. And that's it from here at CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Joey Chen.
And I'm Bill Hemmer, live from New York City. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted today almost 700 points, much more in the markets. And the mood on Wall Street coming up next on Lou Dobbs' Moneyline. Stay tuned for that. It follows us now.
Refinancing your mortgage may be easier than you think. Just log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIX. Today's low fixed rate with 0 points is only 6.750%. With interest rates lower, now may be a great time to get cash or use the equity in your home to consolidate bills. It's smart money from Ditech.com. Apply online or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
For the latest developments as events unfold in America's new war, stay with CNN.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All-natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy, increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. Enerx is all natural with no side effects. With Enerx, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. Enerx stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of Enerx now.
Call 1-800-367-7960 toll-free, and it will be delivered discreetly to your home. Get results using the safe, all-natural alternative, Enerx.
Painting a room is easy. All the work is in the edging, and the edges are everywhere. Meet Edgemaster, the self-guided rolling edger. With Edgemaster, you can paint every edge effortlessly because Edgemaster's beveled edge self-guides as you paint. Just load the roller, flip the bevel in place, and EdgeMaster guides itself to paint door and window moldings, light switches, thermostats, and walls and ceilings. Straight edge or round, EdgeMaster does it all. With the EdgeMaster, you'll get a precision edge every time. We guarantee you can paint any room in 1 hour or we'll buy it back. Use it once and you'll never use anything else again. Through this special offer, we'll send you the EdgeMaster, 2 EdgeMaster rollers, painting guide, and tray for only $19.99. Plus, call right now and we'll triple the number of rollers. A $20